Go, 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 go. Don't think about it. Go, 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 go. Yeah. Hi guys, welcome back to Save Black Girl Reads, where I am your host Ariel, the best friend in your head that you never knew that you needed, but you are so glad that you have. Welcome back, friend. Let's take it in. Here we are, week 2 of Marriage Be Hard by Kevin and Melissa Fredericks. We are already going and jumping into chapters 4, 5, and 6. So without further ado, let's get into it because I think I have some interesting reviews for you or interesting opinions for you for these 3 chapters that we're going over today. So to kick this off, we're starting off with chapter 4, which is Jealousy Be Hard. Get into it already. Here we go. In chapter 4, it was very interesting that they started the chapter off by defining jealousy on page 77. And they talked about jealousy, or they classified jealousy as thoughts and feelings of insecurity, fear, and anxiety of an anticipated loss of something of great value. So I was glad that they actually gave us the definition so we could know what to actually be looking for and what to expect by the things that they were actually going to talk about within the chapter of like fear of losing something of great value, things of that nature. But they also then went in to talk about 2 types of jealousies that they highlighted. One, a jealousy that is born of God, like a godless jealousy, like a he is jealous for me, love's like a hurricane and I am a tree. That song, I don't know if y'all heard that in worship. Listen, if you grew up churchy, you probably heard, he loves, because it sing you in, I don't know. Is it just me? Is it just me? Could be just me, and I'll take it. So Melissa actually talks about how there's 2 types of jealousy. There's the one that's born of God, that he is jealous for me, like we just talked about. Then there's the second one, the born of insecurity and suspicion, which I don't know what type of God that jealousy is serving, but I don't think it's the one and true and living God. I don't know. Maybe y'all let me know in the comments. I don't know. But essentially, so they talked about those 2. Then they walked us through pretty much like year 3 of their marriage, where Melissa's parents have announced that they're getting divorced and Kevin is building his comedy career and he's gaining Facebook groupies. Exactly. And so they pretty much guided us through that whole process of what was going on in the process of him gaining the fame, gaining the things, and he's going out to the clubs, this being a new adventure for them. Because again, they grew up churchy. You ain't supposed to be out there at the club. You're supposed to be using your gift for the Lord. But Kevin is out here trying to build his career. He's doing a hot 5, hot 10, hot 25, who knows? And the groupies is out here scantily clothed. Because again, they're going to the club and they tagging him, posting pictures and things like that. And apparently that became an issue within their marriage, as they talked about in chapter 3. But we're not going to get into all of that tea because again, y'all know what we do over here. High level overview, sis. I love overview, bro. So let's continue to move on. So they guided us through this also within this space. They guided us through a situation where they talk about how Kevin, his brother, Jason, rest in peace, and his friend, Anthony, I want to say, they were essentially, the three sides of the playmakers and how they were trying to do plays and stuff like that. Out of the blue, this girl that Kevin had a crush on in high school is now being involved with these guys, and she is really trying to, she's trying to work through. But my spidey senses after reading this was that she was trying to push up on Kev. But y'all got to go read the chapter to get all the tea. But essentially, Sis are out here overstepping her boundaries. And Melissa also had a coworker who was out here over 7 boundaries too. It was one day at Boeing. She was wearing a sundress. I don't know what it is about the sundress ministries when we put on the sundresses and the men lose their mind. I don't know. What is it? Let me know in the comments. Or bro, let me know in the comments. What is it about spring and a sundress that just have you lose your mind and lose sense of boundaries? Because essentially, her coworker saw her in this and was like, basically, his gist was, hey, I want to fill you up. Wow. So, and mind you, at this time, Melissa is like, in both of these instances, Melissa and Kevin are married. Like, they've been married, like got kids married. So they walk us through these things. And essentially, like, the gist of the chapter, again, I'm not telling y'all the tea of what happened with everything. You got to read the book to get the tea. But essentially, the main gist of the chapter was something that Melissa credited Danny Rose, aka Stovetop Kisses. If you don't know her, she has a YouTube, and I follow her on Instagram as well. Her key phrase is "sopped up." But essentially, Melissa credits Danny with a statement called "Choose Us." And she actually puts it in air quotes. And basically, she highlights it as she highlights it and she fleshes it out on page 91. So if you have the book, let's go to the text. In the space of choose us, when you are choosing us, the result might not be the exact thing that either of you wants, but it's what is best for the partnership. For the current situation that exists between the two of you, the key is to match your partner's reaction and to recognize where the jealousy is born: out of love, out of security, out of fear of losing something of great personal value. And all of those were question marks. I know I didn't read it that way, but they are. But essentially, Melissa fleshes it out and she talks about it. She's like, and in the end of the space, or the main gist of the chapter was that in the space of relationship, in the space of marriage, you have to consistently and constantly choose the two of you. It may be something that you don't necessarily want, maybe something that you're not necessarily fully in agreement, but for the sake of your relationship, for the sake of your marriage, you choose the both of you at a discomfort, possibly to yourself. Are we saying that you lose all of yourself completely? No, but compromise is something that is a theme within relationships. And so I think she makes a good point there. Moving on to chapter 5, because I think those were the big highlights of chapter 4 outside of the tea around the crush and the coworker. So in chapter 5, it is marital roles be hard. So I must say that my initial thought was not what I was expecting. In terms of marital roles, a lot of times when I went into it, even if you go back to week 1's video, you hear me mention gender roles. And I actually go back and say, no, marital roles, because they are actually addressing marital roles, not gender roles, but I'm thinking one and the same instead of just, changing title, but similar situation. They actually flesh out and say, on page 94, that they started out with describing what their intentions were for the chapter versus what the chapter had evolved into. And essentially, they talked about how it started off with talking about like the marital roles and the intentions to talk about how children change your relationship essentially, and it is a permanent change. But it turned into something else as they were like, starting to write it and really go through it. And so I was like, So I guess in the end, what I took from the chapter is don't wait too long during transition with children in your marriage to seek the necessary help that you may have or may need in your marriage. Basically, Melissa and Kevin, they come up pregnant. Melissa is not overly ecstatic about it because they are young. They don't have the money that she feels like they should. She feels ill prepared. And she's also in a space of mourning who she used to be because that person will be no more. And she made mention of all of these things, or some of these things. Kevin, on the other hand, is ecstatic. He's excited. He's happy that they're having a baby because they're married. They're doing the married people things. They're out here being fruitful and multiplying. And here's the thing that I'm not trying to tell you that I'm really about to wind up telling you. So there's an excerpt where Melissa says that she wished she had not have cried when she found out the news, because essentially she cried, right? She cried and went in the room and closed the door. Kevin interpreted that as she's sad or she's upset, but then Kevin initially thought that she was sad and she was disappointed because she didn't want to raise kids with him, or she didn't find him responsible. And I'm like, you didn't think to go in there and knock on the door and find out what's wrong with her? And so to her point, she's like, I regret crying or what have you because of what the crying meant. I think in my head, I'm like, no, you shouldn't apologize for crying, sis, because that is like, I'm not a mother. So I was watching this movie on Netflix called Look Both Ways. And essentially it goes down this journey of like two different alternative paths of this one girl with this, when she finds out on this one evening that she is pregnant, right? Or that she may be pregnant, or if she's not. So it goes down these things, and she's going through this postpartum situation. She's crying all the time. She's not okay. In the space of where they're exploring her, actually being a young mom coming directly out of college. And essentially her mother gives her the permission to say, like, yes, you can cry. It's okay. You are mourning. You are mourning the person. You are mourning multiple people, because from this day forward, you will never not be a parent. Never not be a parent. And so she was telling her daughter, like, no, go ahead and mourn, because you're mourning the person who you were. That person is no more. And you're mourning the person who you thought you could be, because that person is not in existence at this time. And so one thing that I would say that I was really reminded of from, just Look Both Ways, and from reading Becoming, because it's a lot going on, guys. Just stay focused, stay with me. I promise I'm going to wrap it up, and it's going to be in a nice, pretty bow. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that there's that portion of the book where Melissa was like, I wish I hadn't cried. She's valid in her feelings, and I'm not going to tell her how to feel. But I feel like if she was my sis, or my good sis, my auntie, whatever, I would actually tell her, like, no, you were valid in crying. If anything, you should have had the vocabulary or and I don't want to say should have, because we were not equipped. And obviously she's admitted to that. But I think, no, she's valid in feeling how she feels, because she was in mourning. I think had she been able to articulate her feelings to her husband, to say, this has nothing to do with you, but everything to do with me. So just take a moment and really, I just really want you to understand that I am mourning, but I'm not sad or upset with this baby or the outcome that we are pregnant. I am more so just in mourning for who I am and who I thought I would be. And I just need some time. So maybe you don't call your people to celebrate a pregnancy when I'm in the room crying and mourning. Like, things like that. Also, I was reminded of the excerpt from Becoming where forever First Lady Michelle Obama was having issues adjusting as well after Malia Obama was born. They both had similar situations in terms of the women not really knowing how to adjust, resenting their husbands because they see this freedom that their husbands have that they don't necessarily have. They feel like they've sacrificed way more in motherhood than their husbands have in fatherhood. And so, but I would say like those are three parallels that we could say for both the Fredericks and the Obamas. I would say the biggest thing that I see between the Obamas and the Fredericks is the time period and how long it took for them to sign up for couples counseling, for therapy, whatever you want to call it. There was an excerpt where Kevin actually talked about how, growing up churchy, things of that nature, you pride yourself on not necessarily because Jesus and you can pray it away. Like you don't need a therapist, you don't need a counselor or what have you. So there's a pride in not going. There's a pride in not having one. But I think there was an excerpt where Kevin mentioned that it got to a place where he was basically saying like it just kind of wasn't working the way that it was. And so it was more so just like either you go to therapy or you're going to sit in an unhappy marriage. And becoming the Obamas, like your forever first lady was like, oh no, we got to go in here and we got to sit and talk to this therapist now, today, because I don't know. Earlier on, the Obamas were able to gain the vocabulary that was needed, the tools that were needed. And here we have the Fredericks who took a little bit longer. They're in it now. They're gaining their tools, but they're having to unravel and unpack decades worth of work that could have been counterproductive to the flow and the growth of their marriage together based off of the changes. So I'm thankful that they're working towards healing in their relationship. But to be quite honest, I don't know if, and I get it. This is a love letter to them, to a younger them, for the support that they wish they had. And I'm glad that they are advocating for get the help that you need and do it quickly. Because I don't know if sitting here for the space of decades and allowing the things to pile up without the necessary tools is necessarily helpful to those who are aspiring to be married. I'm glad that they were able to actually highlight it. I'm glad that they were actually able to acknowledge it, give us the truth around it. And I think the biggest thing that I could take away from this chapter is essentially, get the help that you need. If you are considering going to the counselor, sis, bro, go to the counselor. Because the worst that can happen is they give you, you don't like the counselor, go find another one. The best that can happen is you find a counselor who you absolutely love, who can kind of interpret the things and say the things that both of you all need to give a viewpoint of your lives and do the necessary adjustments for showing up for yourself and your happiness first, and then being able to show up in a better way for your relationship. So that's pretty much what I took away from chapter 5. I was just like, okay. It took a while for them to get to a place of saying, hey, we need a therapist or we need a third party to come in here and have conversations with us, to be reflective. And I get that a lot of that could be inspired by deep-rooted churchy conversations and things like that, where people are like, just pray about it and give it to the Lord, as opposed to you can also pray, but you can also go sit with praying to the Lord and also going and sit with the counselor about the things. Both helpful. All right. Moving on to chapter 6, Fidelity Be Hard. And I don't know why y'all might think I'm being more critical in this chapter. But, and I don't care, because this is the purpose of reviews and things of that nature. But I will say this, the Fredericks had great advice for this chapter. However, I couldn't connect all the way with Fidelity Be Hard with the Fredericks. I couldn't do it. I was just kind of reading it and I was like, yes, this is good information. But I was also side eyeing it. And I think I was side eyeing it as well because of how they introed it and their follow through. Like, they introed it by saying that we don't know the impact of physical infidelity in our own marriage, but we feel qualified to talk about it because Melissa's parents know that, and we also got friends who also know about the physical infidelity. So we're going to talk about it. It read from a space of, my partner is Black, so I have a right to speak on this. And I think that's where I don't necessarily connect all the way with chapter 6 of Fidelity Be Hard because of the intro. I think that if they had just said, hey, we recognize that we don't speak or that we don't come from a perspective of physical infidelity, but we feel as though we have some gems to give to you even in that space, and we only have like maybe a small amount of an intro to emotional fidelity, but nothing that just all the way trumps, someone else's experience. We would still like to share with you the gems that we have. Take it or leave it. I think I would have appreciated it more. It kind of gave off this whole situation of them trying to qualify themselves for being able to talk about it by proxy. Yeah, by proxy, as opposed to just talking about it and acknowledging like we hadn't been through this, but we know that a lot of couples do. So, and by way of having conversations with, our friends, having conversations with who have gone through it or what have you, we just wanted to give you the gems based off of X, Y, and Z, and discussing things with other experts from the Love Hour podcast or whatever, and then kind of going from there and qualifying it that way. Because I just think that it rubbed me, I don't want to say it rubbed me the wrong way. I just think that I couldn't quite connect with it all the way, specifically because it was more of a qualifier type of thing for me. And so it was like, this is great advice, but why did y'all intro it the way that y'all did? Y'all could have just said we don't have personal experience in it, but we still got good gems. Okay, moving on. So, but essentially, again, great advice, going back to the great advice. So Kevin and Melissa both advise on communicating your needs to your partner early and often. They both had sections where they both explicitly said it in their own particular ways of, you need to be able to communicate your needs to your partner. And they both, I don't know if they both shied away or highlighted the whole you should know or my partner should know situation again, but going back to previous chapters of the staying away from my partner should know. Like, is it valid that you feel that your partner should know? Yes. But does that help anybody if you are sitting in your head thinking that your partner should know this and you are the only one who knows it? No. So what do? You communicate this over and over again. You tell your partner what your needs are. So I thought that was very insightful. They both advise on providing protection to your marriage. So like doing the things that would protect your marriage in a space of temptation, in a space of talking about, having like, I think what was it? I think Kevin and Melissa did a great job of even talking about like what would you step away from our marriage for? Like, what would you have an affair for if it's you and you? And if I'm not doing these things. So I think them talking about that in the space of also providing protection for your marriage, of like, I know that my spouse, my partner needs X, Y, and Z. I know that if I don't provide X, Y, and Z, and someone else comes through and provides X, Y, and Z, this could put us in a slippery slopey, and they might be done whooshed through our relationship, whoosh straight down the crapper. That they also talked about what an emotional affair is. Not, they didn't just speak to physical infidelity, but they also talked about emotional infidelity and an emotional affair. And so I think they addressed Kevin's emotional affair with his high school crush earlier in the Jealousy Be Hard section, where again he talks about the old high school crush. She's trying to get down with doing the plays and stuff like that, but she's doing a little too much. And it's actually highlighted in chapter 4, where she baked a cake for his birthday from scratch, honey. And I was like, the disrespect. Like, what, ma'am? Whom do you think you are? I understand that is not how we use the grammar here, but I just feel like the inflection is needed. Because sis, whom do you think you are that you are cooking a cake for a married man? You're baking a cake from scratch, as if his wife doesn't have the cakes, the cookies, the pies, the opposite. I don't care if she didn't have all of this stuff on deck. If she didn't put in the order for you to make the cakes, you don't make the cake. But they actually detailed the emotional affair that Kevin had, and how, they cut it off soon. They cut it off early. They cut it off quick. Kevin was like, nope, not gonna throw my relationship away for the homegirl. Like, not gonna do it. And another thing, they actually talked about that too. Like, if, understanding what things are appropriate versus what things are not, and asking yourself some questions that really highlight what is appropriate, what is not, and going through the qualifiers. If it's something where you have to hide it from your spouse, if it's something where you feel like your spouse would actually feel that it's inappropriate, do you continue it? No. Also, like, listen, lean in, sis and bro, lean in, because I just feel like we gotta talk about this just in general. I think the Fredericks did a great job of highlighting this, and they detailed it well, but I think, come here, lean in a little closer. In the year of our Lord and Savior 2022, what we not doing and taking into 2023 is the shenanigans of arguing about friends in a relationship. I said it. And I'll add more to it before I take it back. Because why friends? Why are we arguing with our partners about who our best friends are and are not? Because again, if this is the person who is your life partner, this is the person who you said, I'm gonna do this till death do we part, till the wheels fall off, till I go gray in the head and in the face and in the hairs of my chinny chin. Why would you then place above that a friendship to a friend? Which, not saying that this is your friendship is just like a mediocre thing or should not be acknowledged as a friend, a good friend during the season of time in life that you needed them. But what I am saying is, if they are not the end all till death do we part, why are you then holding this friend and high standards up against the till death do we part? Are you really willing to throw your relationship away for the friend? And if you are, listen, Whatever your feelings are, feel your feelings. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but what I am saying is, gone are the days where we are out here having arguments about whether if your partner is uncomfortable with a friend or not. If they told you they are uncomfortable, take that for what it is. And again, go back to what Kevin and Melissa are talking about: protection of your relationship. Why are we like arguing with your partner about whether or not you get to keep a friend is not protecting your relationship? Let's just put it in those terms, and let's just say, let's move on. That should not even be a conversation, or if it's a conversation, it should be a short one. And if it's something where you don't feel like your partner is being fair about the friendship, hear them, act swiftly on what they said. But also, if it's something where it's like, hey, is it possible if this is a long-term friend and you really do see benefit, like business partner or something like that, if you really do see benefit in this friendship, maybe have your partner and your friend meet at a dinner so that everybody is copacetic, everybody knows each other, everybody met, everybody has seen each other, and you know how to behave about who's in what place. And also govern yourself accordingly with your friend. Maybe it's not that, maybe it was in a different season when your partner wasn't here. Maybe it was okay that y'all didn't talk, that you and your friend talked on the phone every day and this and the third and blah 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 blah. But as your partner has transitioned, no, unless your partner is available to hear the conversation that you and your friend fixing to have, let's even reconsider the way that we handle the phone calls. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Based off of the notes and some of the things that the Fredericks have said, they address the friendship thing and everything like that. So, again, great advice. One last thing. In chapter 6 that I really wanted to highlight, and it is this. I loved how Melissa addressed the fact that in 2022, we need to stop judging partners who are involved in infidelity, whether it be emotional or physical. We need to stop judging them on whether they decide to stay or leave. Period. You know why? Because it ain't our business, and we have joined Mind Your Business ministries where we sip our water and we hold our comments. Or if we're gonna talk about it, we say it to their face. We give them the advice of the Lord be with you, bless them, and we move on. Okay? Because I think a lot of times, and Melissa actually highlighted it, but she was just like, you're not the one involved. You can sit here and talk about what you should, would, could, and all of this other stuff do, but you're not the one in the situation. So at the end of the day, the person who is involved, the partner who is involved and who is invested, we don't know the fullness of their investment. We don't know the fullness of the love that is shared. We don't know the fullness of the partner and what they are willing to do to get back to or better than what they had. Because obviously this infidelity has revealed that something in the marriage is broken between both parties, not just one, between both. Don't shoot the reviewer, because I didn't write this. Melissa did. But anywho, what I am saying is that I absolutely adored the way that Melissa broke this down and gave grace to partners in a relationship that could be dealing with infidelity, and just letting us know to be gentle with these partners, be gracious with these partners, because it's easy to say what you could, would, and should do when you're not the one in it. And so I think that, the biggest thing that she told us was that, let these people figure out what they're going to do and encourage them to figure it out with a licensed professional. If you're going to do some encouragement, that's the only encouraging and evangelizing in the way of what they should be doing as it pertains to their relationships. Anything else, mind your business. I know it's easier said than done, especially if the person who has been transgressed against is a loved one and one that you hold dear. But again, I thought that she did a phenomenal job of breaking that down and being like, listen, mind your business as it pertains to the infidelities, because at the end of the day, people are going to do what they feel is best for them and what could possibly be a self-preserving decision. Hopefully I think again, this was a great lesson of pray for your friends. Pray for your friends, pray for individuals who are dealing with whatever it is that they are dealing with. Because again, you can sit here and say all you want, couldn't be me, I would never, blase, 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 blah. But it's like, yeah, you can say all of this right about now because you're not going through it. But what about sis who is? She's got a lot going on her mind, and she's thinking about all the things that she's invested, all the time that she's invested, all of the memories that she has, things of that nature, what assets they have together, what they don't, the kids, if they have them, who's going, and she's thinking about, she may be thinking about, or he may be thinking about a lot of things. And if they are well within their right to do so, because a relationship is a lot. I understand. And I have friends and family members and things like that who will say to you, if someone cheats on me, I'm leaving. And then I have others who are basically like, it's a bit deeper than that. And so I'm not going to say what I would and wouldn't do. So to each their own. But I think that in this space, this last chapter, didn't want to seem critical, but I also just wanted to be honest. And the fact that they gave great advice, I couldn't quite fully connect with the chapter, even with the great advice, only because I didn't really feel like they needed this qualifier at the beginning of it. Honestly, they could have left it out and just said that we're not necessarily experts in this, but by proxy to friends and families, things of that nature, the fact that we did the Love Hour for like 2.5 years and talked to a bunch of experts, we feel that we could provide some great advice on it. But anywho, all right, so we've gotten through chapters 4, 5, and 6. We are moving on to chapters 7, 8, and 9, which is Fighting Be Hard, Parenting Be Hard, and Quarantine Be Hard. Congratulations to you. You're already halfway through the book. So just wanted to say, proud of you. We're going to continue to press on, Christian soldier, and find out. We're going to run on, see what the end going to be for chapters 7, 8, and 9, Fighting Be Hard, Parenting Be Hard, and Quarantine Be Hard. So until next week, Saints and Ain'ts, I'll see you in the next video and we'll go over those chapters, okay?